The echoes in the abandoned music box. I found the music box because I was tired of my own apartment. I had moved to this small town for work, and it felt like the walls were always listening. I needed something on my desk that wasn't a bill or a cracked mug. Something old. Something that looked like it had a story. There was an estate sale on the edge of town, in a house with peeling paint and roses that still tried to live around a dead porch. A handwritten sign on the fence said, "Cash only." The yard was full of tables, old tools, dishes that did not match, framed photos of people with careful hair and eyes that looked past the camera. I almost turned around. Then I saw the box. It was small, maybe the size of 2 books stacked together, carved from dark oak, heavier than it looked. The lid held a pattern like leaves or flames or faces. I could not tell. The brass key stuck out from the side. When I lifted it, dust fell from the bottom like gray snow. "Careful with that," a woman said. She wore a black dress with a coffee stain on the sleeve, and a thin chain with a cross that looked too tight around her neck. Her hair was pinned up and angry. She smiled anyway. "Pretty, isn't it?" she said. "It doesn't like being quiet." I said, "It plays a song?" "Plays," she said, and then softer, "and remembers." I nodded like I understood. I did not. I just wanted something that could sit on my desk and make the room feel less empty. I paid her in cash. She wrapped the box in old newspaper that smelled like a wet attic and asked my name. "Jordan," I said. "Jordan," she repeated. "It will like that." I carried the box to my car. It felt warm in my hands, as if it had been sitting in sunlight. It was not a hot day. On the drive back, the key clicked once all by itself. I told myself the spring inside must be loose. My window was open. Maybe the wind had touched it. Maybe I wanted a reason that was not strange. In my apartment, I cleared a space on the desk. I put down the box. The wood left a faint dark print on the old varnish like wet fingers. I turned the key one slow circle. The song came out broken at first, like a throat clearing. Then it found itself. A simple tune, old, made for a child's hand. But there was something extra under it, like someone breathing through a cloth, not with a beat. Between it. I listened for a minute. Then I laughed at myself because it felt silly to stare at a wooden toy. I opened my laptop. I answered an email. 5 minutes later, I realized the music had not stopped. I looked up. The key was still turning. I had only given it one turn. I reached out to stop it and felt a small shock in my fingertip, like a dry spark in winter. I pulled my hand back. The song went on. I told myself it was fine, that music boxes will wind down when they wind down, and I turned on the TV. When I went to bed, the music was still playing. I put the box in the next room. I shut the door. I put a towel at the bottom of the door. Because I did not like the way the tune seemed to slip under wood. I left the TV on for company and slept on top of the blanket like a guest in my own home. At 3 in the morning, the song woke me anyway. It wasn't loud. It was close. The box sat on my nightstand. I sat up so fast, I knocked my phone to the floor. I stared at the box and told myself I must have brought it to bed and forgot. The human mind lies to itself all the time. It is how we live with ourselves. I picked up the box with both hands. It felt heavier than before. The key turned twice by itself. The song sounded cleaner now. The small breaths between notes were gone, or maybe they were just hidden. A few specks of gray dust fell from the lid and lit up in the TV's blue light like snow in a dream. I carried the box back to the desk and put it down. I told it, "Stay." I do not know why. I went back to bed and did not sleep. I stared at the ceiling and counted the beats. I reached 100, and it did not end. At some point, the TV shut itself off. The room turned dark. When I woke up, my mouth tasted like metal. The box sat where I had left it. The key did not move. It was silent. I made coffee. I tried to laugh about the whole thing. At work, I told no one. By lunch, the night already felt stupid, like a movie that forgot its own plot. After dinner, I put the box right where it was and did not touch it. At 11, with the TV on low, I heard the song again. The key did not turn. The lid did not open. The sound came anyway. A faint tune made of air more than metal, like the memory of a lullaby. I turned off the TV and walked in circles through my apartment. The sound did not get louder or softer. It was everywhere at once, like the smell of bleach. I sat in front of the box and looked for something that would make sense. I turned it side to side. On the bottom, scratched deep like someone had used a nail, there was a message. For her to remember me. The words made my throat feel tight. I pressed my ear to the wood. I heard the gears and the teeth and the tiny metal comb. And under that deep, I heard something like a voice, not words, a tone that wanted to be a word and could not. I pulled back quick. "Enough," I said to the empty room. The song kept going. The next day, I searched the house from the sale. The address took me to a narrow street with trees that leaned too close to the road. The house had empty windows, like eyes. A neighbor sat on a porch with a paper bag and a baseball cap that had no team on it. He watched me like I was a stray dog. I went back to the estate sale sign and copied the number for the seller. When I called, a woman answered with the same thin voice from the yard, the one that sounded like a door chain. "It's Jordan," I said. "I bought the music box." She said, "Yes." "How old is it?" "Old enough." "Who did it belong to?" "A teacher," she said. "Music lessons. Children from the church, children from the street. She taught until she could not teach." "What happened to her?" "People die," she said. "Sometimes they stop before they die." "I don't understand." "I know," she said with a small laugh. "The box will help." She hung up. My hand shook with anger or fear or both. I told myself I would get rid of it. I would drive it to the dump. I would throw it in a lake. I would burn it, even if the smell filled my apartment and the neighbors complained. I went home. I held the box over the trash can. The lid was closed. The key pointed north like a compass that had found something I could not see. I could not drop it. I do not have a good reason. If you need a reason, make one up. Sometimes that is all a reason is. That night the song came back by itself. I dreamed that I lived in a house with a long hall, and the hall was full of small boxes, and all of them were open, and the tune from each one did not match the others. So the whole hall sounded like 1,000 children trying to learn the same song, and failing over and over and over. I woke up with my face wet. The next day I dug deeper. The county library smelled like books and old carpet and someone's lunch. I asked the clerk about a music teacher, maybe named Gray. The clerk, a young man with a scar from his lip to his chin, typed slow. He frowned, he said, "Evelyn Gray. 1947. Disappeared. House opened by police. Dozens of music boxes in every room. Neighbors complained of noise for months before." "Was she married?" I asked. No record. Did she have a child? No record, he said again. But the way he said it now sounded like no proof and not no truth. He let me see the newspaper on microfilm. The story was short. The photo showed a woman with good posture and a mouth that did not know how to smile for a camera. Under her picture were the words, "Known by her students for a simple melody that stays in the ear." The article mentioned complaints, strange hours, and a long note about a missing boy in the same year. "Last seen walking home from lesson," it said. "Never found." When I got home, the box sat on my desk where the morning left it. The light from the window lay across the lid like a hand. The room smelled like dust and old wood and something sweet that made me think of a church basement. I wound the key once. The song came out strong, not broken. The breaths between notes were gone. There was a voice under it now. A woman's voice, humming, then almost singing, then holding back at the last second. My eyes started to sting. "Evelyn," I said without meaning to. The air moved in the room. Every dust mote hung still, the way small white insects do when you drive through summer air at night. Then, slowly, they all drifted toward the box and settled on it in a soft layer, as if the whole room were a hand putting a blanket over a child. "Evelyn," I said again, because saying a name sometimes makes a thing feel less like a dream. The lid moved. Just a little, as if the wood had learned to breathe. I saw it in the reflection of my window before I saw it anywhere else. A shadow behind my own, a shape like a woman in a dark dress, turned away from me as if she were looking into another room. I turned around quick. Only my apartment. 2 chairs. 1 coat hanging on a hook. The fridge made a small sound, like a sigh. When I faced the window again, the shadow was closer. It stood right behind me in the glass. The face had no details, just the idea of a face. The place where eyes should be. The place where a mouth could open if it wanted. It lifted its head. The box's song slowed down, as if it were matching the pace of someone walking. I shut the box hard. The song cut off like a wire. I took the box to the bedroom and shut it in the closet. I put a chair under the knob. I put a book on the chair because I did not know what else to do. I turned on every light in the apartment and pretended to watch TV while I sat with the remote in my hand and did not feel my fingers. When the song came back, it started inside my chest. It felt like someone had put a small cold coin between my ribs and spun it. I could hear it in my teeth. I ran to the closet. The chair was on the floor. The book lay open on a page with a photo of a snowstorm I did not remember. The door was cracked open like a mouth trying not to laugh. The box sat inside, lit up, not fully open, not closed. A polite angle. The key was turning by itself. I grabbed it with both hands. The metal burned me like I had picked up a pan from an oven. I yelped and dropped it, and the box slid across the floor like a crab and stopped near the bed. I did not sleep. I sat with my back against the wall and my knees up and listened. Around 3, the song changed. It added notes that did not belong and now belonged because no one could tell the song to stop. I heard a light tapping under the music, like fingers touching wood in time. I counted. It went 1, 2, 3, pause, 1, 2, 3, pause, like a child learning a new rhythm. I closed my eyes and saw a hallway again. This time I knew it was not mine. The walls had paper with flowers. The floor was wood and polished from the same tiny feet over and over. At the end of the hall, A door stood ajar. The light inside was yellow. I walked toward it without moving my legs. That is how dreams make fools of us. The song grew louder with each step. When I reached the door, it opened. Music boxes covered every surface. A shelf, a desk, a dresser, the window sill, even the floor. Some were closed. Many were open. All played the same tune, not together. So the air felt like a net pulled in different directions. In the center of the room, a woman knelt on the floor with her hair down. A small boy lay on her lap. She rocked without moving the rest of her body. Her hands were on the boy's chest. She was humming, and the sound came through her lips like a secret she meant to keep and meant to share at the same time. The boy's mouth opened. His eyes were glass. His skin was wax. He sang in a voice that did not belong in a human throat. He sang for her to remember me, and the words were wrong because they were not sung. They were carved. I woke with my cheek on the floor and the taste of dust. The box stood on the desk where it had begun. I had been careful to put it on a cloth so it would not scratch the wood. But now the box left lines behind it, like tiny tracks. The key was still. The lid was closed. A hair lay across the top. Long, not mine. I ran water over the key and over my hand until the skin went pink and numb. I put on my shoes. I drove back to the empty house. The front door opened when I pushed. The air inside had the kind of cold that smells like old water and metal, and someone's breath long after they stopped breathing. The floor creaked in a way that felt like a voice too. I walked down a short hall. I knew which room. I had seen it in my dream. The wallpaper had flowers. The floor was wood. The window was a rectangle that did not want to be looked through. The room was empty. The shapes of furniture showed in places where the sun had not reached. A square on the wall without a picture. A lighter patch of floor where a dresser had been. On the windowsill, dust was thick enough to make a small hill. I put the box on the sill. The wood in the wood looked like family. I said out loud, "You live here." The box did not move. I wound the key once. The song came soft and sad and cleaner than it had ever been in my apartment. The sound did not leak. It fit the room the way water fits a cup. The air went still, as if the house held its breath for the first time in years. Footsteps sounded in the hall. Slow, then a pause, then slow again. "Hello?" I called. No answer. The footsteps came closer. I felt small heat on the back of my neck. I did not turn around. I looked at the glass. In the window, I saw my face. Behind my face, I saw her face. The one from the photo at the library. The one that did not know how to smile for a camera. Her mouth moved, no sound. The music box played on. I tried to speak. My lips did not work. My tongue felt like cloth. Her hand lifted, pale, thin. It rested on my shoulder without touching me. I felt a weight anyway, not on the skin, inside the bone. A second hand, smaller, slid on top of the first. The music changed key. I turned. I do not know why. My body made the choice like a coin made the spin. The room was empty. The hand stayed on my shoulder. I reached up and touched it. It was colder than anything in the house. My fingers went through it like steam and came out wet. The song sped up by a little. The key turned and turned. I tried to pull the key out. It would not come. I tried to lift the box. It would not move. It was part of the sill now, or the sill was part of it. The steps sounded again, but this time they were small and fast, and the rhythm was just like the tapping under the music. 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, pause. A boy came to the doorway. He was 6, maybe 7. He wore a white shirt with a stain that looked like tea. His hair lay flat from sleep. His eyes were wrong, not blue, not brown. Clear, like the eyes in a store that sells parts. His mouth smiled because that is what you expect a child to do when he sees a friend. He did not look at me. He looked at the box. "Can I hear it?" he asked. His voice came from behind my teeth. I said, "It's already playing." He tilted his head. "Mama says it sounds better when your ear's close." He walked across the wood floor. His feet did not make a sound. He rested his head on the lid. The song got louder without getting louder. It pressed against my ears like altitude. I felt the small, wet hand again on my shoulder. It squeezed and let go and squeezed and let go, and my heartbeat matched it without asking my permission. "Do you like it?" he asked. He did not lift his head. I said. The word got lost. "Who are you?" He laughed. It was not a child's laugh. It was the sound of tin cut in half. "I'm the song." He opened the lid. Inside the box, instead of a dancer on a stick, there was a round mirror. It showed the sky where the sky should be, and our faces where our faces should be. My face looked tired. The boy had no face in the mirror. The space where his head should be in the glass was a circle of light that moved with the tune like lips. I put my hand on the lid to close it. My hand did not move. My shoulder hurt. The cold hand squeezed again. I could not breathe right. The boy whispered, "She can't hear me if it stops." "Who?" I asked. "Mama," he said. A picture in my mind. A woman with her hair down, and a boy in her lap, and a room with too many boxes, and a night that will not end. The picture did not feel like a thought. It felt like a memory that was not mine. My knees shook. "Where is your mother now?" He smiled a different smile. "Right here." The cold hand slid down my arm. It took my wrist. My fingers opened on their own. The lid stayed open by itself. "You can go?" I said. "You can both go." He shook his head. "Not until she remembers me." The boy leaned into the box. The light in the mirror swelled like someone had blown air into a balloon. He was gone. The song stopped. The hand let go. I fell forward. My forehead hit the sill. Everything went white. When I woke, there was no sun left. The room knew the tune of the house at night. The box sat quiet. I touched it. It felt like wood again and not like a mouth that might bite. I closed the lid and carried it to the car. It was lighter now, or I was weaker. I do not know. On the drive home, the key clicked once by itself, the way it had on the first day. The sound made my stomach turn in a small circle. In the apartment, I put the box on the desk and sat on the floor. I waited for the song. It did not start. I fell asleep with my head on my arms. At 2 a.m, the TV turned on by itself. Static, the white noise, made a shape in the screen like a person standing in fog. I turned the TV off with a remote. It turned itself back on. The static again? Less fog now? More shape. I unplugged the TV. The static kept going. The sound came from the music box. I opened the lid. Inside the mirror, snow fell. Not real snow. The floaters you see when you rub your eyes too hard, only bigger, slower, more sure of themselves. In the middle of the snow, a woman's face formed and blurred and formed again like a fisherman pulling a net and losing it and throwing it back. "Evelyn," I said. The face found my mouth and copied the way I shaped the name. "Jordan," she said in my voice. "Let him go," I said. The face blinked the way a photo blinks in a trick. The eyes slid a little and settled. "You wound it," she said. "Now it remembers you." The mirror brightened. My room went dark around it. I felt the cold hand again, and then another, and then many, small and big, the way a crowd feels if a crowd were made of ice and could touch you all at once without touching skin. The song started at last. It was the same simple tune, but now I could hear the thing under it that had always been there, and I had not wanted to hear. It was the sound of a person trying not to cry for as long as it takes for the body to forget how to make tears. The air in the room lifted and fell with the song like a chest breathing. "Evelyn," I said again, "where did you go?" Her face did not change. "I stayed," she said. "Where is he?" I whispered. Her face looked past me. The mirror did not show what she saw. It showed only the snow and the mouth we used. "In the song," she said. "Can you leave?" Something like a smile and not a smile moved beneath her eyes. "Do you leave your name behind when you speak?" she asked. "Or does your name keep speaking after you walk away?" My stomach hurt. The room felt small. My legs were pins. I shut the lid hard. The song did not stop. I put the box on the floor. I hit it with my fist. The wood cracked at the corner, and the sound did not change. I lifted the box and dropped it. The mirror rattled, but did not break. The tune did not skip. I threw the box at the wall, and it bounced like a ball and slid to a stop at my feet. I picked it up and hugged it to my chest and felt the music go into my bones. I carried it to the kitchen. I put it in the sink. I turned on the water and held it there until my hands went numb and the silver handle shook under my grip. The song kept going. Water ran down my arms and into my shirt and onto the floor. I took the box out and shook it hard like a bad dog. The song made a small laugh at me and did not change. I set it on the counter and looked at the stove. For 1 second, I believed I could put the box on a burner and turn the knob and fix everything. I saw in my mind the wood turning black and the mirror bubbling and the smell climbing into my curtain and never leaving. And even in that picture, the song did not stop. I walked back to the desk with the box and sat down again on the floor the way I used to sit in church when I was a child and wanted to be close to the ground because the ground felt like the only thing that would not leave. I said, "What do you want?" The song changed shape. Not the notes. The shape. It moved like a person moving through a crowd that was not a crowd because there was no skin and no cloth and no breath, only sound. It came toward me. For her to remember me, it said inside the music, and a small boy's mouth formed in the reflection of the lid and spoke the words without lips. "I'm not her," I said. "You wound it," he said. "Now it remembers you." The doorbell rang. I jumped like the sound was a gun. It rang again and again, long, not like a person presses out of habit, like a person holds because they need you to open. I wrapped a towel around the box because the key had started to turn again, and I opened the door. The woman from the sale stood there in the hall with a coat over her dress, her hair pinned up in that angry way, and rain on her shoulders that did not fall from a sky, because the sky outside my window was dry. "May I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside. She looked at the towel and smiled like a doctor at a child who hides a broken hand. "Too late for that," she said. "What is this?" I asked. "A promise," she said. "I didn't make a promise." "You did when you wound it." She put her hand on the towel. The song came up through the cloth and through her fingers and through the skin of her arm into her eyes. Her pupils widened until you could not see the brown. She said, "He likes you." "I don't want him to like me." "People say that about children," she said softly. "Then they hold them anyway." "Who are you?" I asked. "Someone who kept the house closed as long as I could," she said. "They made me sell. Bills do not respect the dead." "Is the boy yours?" She smiled with only half her mouth. "He does not belong to anyone." We stood in my small living room together with the towel between our hands. The box was warm under the cloth now, like a person with a fever. "I want to give it back," I said. "Take it." She shook her head. "You cannot give back a song after you hear it." "I'll leave it at the house," I said. "It knows where you live," she said. "It will come." "I'll smash it." "Do you smash your name?" she asked. And I hated her for the words, and the quiet voice, and the way she looked at the box like a mother looks at a car seat. I said, "What do I do?" She put her hand over mine. Under the towel, the key stopped turning. The song fell very soft, like the end of a day, like a humming after work. She said, "You play it until it ends." "How long?" She looked sad. "As long as the memory needs." She left. The hallway smelled like old smoke after she was gone, and I do not know if that smell belonged to her or to the past that followed her like a stray. I sat down. I took the towel away. The key did not move. I turned it one slow circle. The tune started again, the simple notes, the places where a hand could learn and then forget and then learn again. I sat very still and listened. 15 minutes. An hour. The night fell. The day after that. I lost count. I slept when the notes turned soft enough to be a blanket and woke when they turned sharp enough to be a needle. I stopped going to work. I stopped answering messages. I ate from a box with a fork without heat. The song did not mind. It adjusted itself. Sometimes it sounded like breath again. Sometimes it sounded like a room full of metal insects. Sometimes it sounded like a mother talking to a baby in a church hall while trying to be quiet and failing. On the fourth day, the music stuttered. It did not stop. It stacked itself on itself like a wall. The mirror in the lid showed the snow again, and a shape and another shape. The boy appeared for a second beside the woman, and then he slipped like water into her arm, and then he came back, and then he slipped into her chest, and then he came back, and each time his face looked more like a real face and less like a drawing. "Are you leaving?" I asked the air. The box did not answer. It only played. "Do you remember him now?" I asked the woman. The mirror brightened. The boy smiled. The woman's eyes finally filled. The tears did not fall. They hung there like glass. The song started to slow. Not because the spring was done, because the memory was. The boy put his hand on the lip of the box. His fingers were small and real. He lifted himself out. He stood on the desk. His eyes were still wrong, but There was brown now, a ring like coffee where ice had been. He turned to me. "Thank you," he said. His voice was human and thin and tired. I tried to say, "You're welcome," and found that I had no voice left. I nodded. He turned to the mirror. The woman put her hands up an inch below the glass. He put his hands an inch above the glass. They could not touch. The mirror was a window. The window did not know how to open. "Do I have to go back?" he asked. The woman did not move her mouth. I did not hear a sound. The answer was in the song. "Yes." He looked at me again. He did not look angry or sad. He looked like a boy who had been told to come inside after playing for too long. He nodded once. He climbed back in. He lay down as if the bottom of the box could be a bed. He closed his eyes. The song ended. For the first time since the day I bought it, the silence felt like a real silence, and not like something hidden under notes. I waited. A minute, 5. The key did not turn. I closed the lid. I slid the box into the top drawer of my desk and shut it. It did not fight. I stood up. My legs shook like I had walked a long way. I went to the window. The street was still. The sky was clean. A cat I had not seen before walked a careful path along the curb and did not look at my building. I slept for 14 hours. In the morning, the apartment felt like a new room. I opened my phone and saw messages from my boss and from my landlord, and from a number I did not know, but felt like I should. I put the phone face down. I made eggs. I ate them too fast and burned my tongue. I took the box out of the drawer. It was light again. It was only wood. I thought I would take it back to the house. Put it on the sill where the light lasts the longest. Let it sit. Let it be another piece of furniture in a room that had lost all the others. The doorbell rang. I opened the door. A boy stood there. Not the boy from the mirror, a different boy. 10, maybe. Brown skin, big eyes, the look of a kid who finds the world interesting even when it is cruel. He held a plastic bag with handles wrapped twice around his wrist. "Are you Jordan?" he asked. "Yes," I said. He smiled a little. "A lady told me to bring this." He held out the bag. I took it. It was heavy for plastic. "What lady?" I asked. He pointed down the hall. "Old lady," he said. "Black dress." Smelled like church. I leaned out. The hall was empty. The air did not feel like rain this time. It felt like a room where someone had cried quietly and then left. I opened the bag. Inside was another music box. This one was painted white and blue like a nursery. The lid had small flowers. The key was gold and clean. No scratches. The bottom did not say anything. The wood looked new. "Did you wind it?" I asked the boy. "Nah," he said. "She told me not to." "She said you would." My hands shook. "You can take it back," I said. He shook his head. "She said you would keep it safe." "What's your name?" I asked him. He looked down at his shoes. "Eli?" he said. "Do you want to hear it?" I asked. I do not know why I asked. The question jumped out like a frog from grass. He looked up at me with eyes that were too brown and too bright and too clean. He smiled like a boy who has been promised a good thing for a long time and finally sees the bag. "Yeah," he said. "I like music." He stepped into my apartment. And this is the part of the story where you want me to tell you that I closed the door in his face and took the box back to the house and burned the house down and slept in my car for a week and grew a beard and stopped buying old things from strangers. I did not. I put the white and blue box on the desk beside the dark one. Both keys pointed north. Both lids looked like mouths that were thinking about a word. I wound the new key one circle. The song came out bright and simple, the same tune but lighter, like a child's voice on a spring day. Eli laughed. He put his ear close. "Do you hear the lady?" he asked. "No," I said. "I hear a lady," he said. "She's humming." I looked at the dark box. I touched the lid. It was warm again. The key clicked once. Eli looked up and smiled. His eyes were still brown. They did not glow. They did not turn to glass. He was a real boy standing in a real room, in a real building that charged me too much for parking. He said, "She says she remembers him." "Who?" I asked, but I knew. "The boy," he said. "The one in the song." "Does she want him to leave?" Eli shook his head. "She says he already did." The dark box stayed quiet. The white box played on. Eli swayed a little without noticing. Children do that when they are happy and do not want to show it. My chest hurt again, but the hurt was human. It was not ice or metal. It was the kind of hurt that reminds you you have a body that can be touched. "What else does she say?" I asked. He leaned in. His small ear almost touched the lid. His voice dropped like a person in church. "She says a name." "What name?" Eli smiled and said my name. He said it carefully, like he was repeating it from someone who did not want to say it wrong. "Why?" I asked. "She says..." He tilted his head, listening more. "She says thank you." He stood up. "Can I go now?" "My mom says not to stay inside strange buildings." "Yes," I said fast. "Yes, go." He ran down the hall the way a boy runs when his shoes are good and the floor is smooth. I closed the door. I sat down. I watched the white box until it wound down by itself. The last note held long in the air and then dropped like a small stone into a pond you could not see. I waited. The dark box did not move. I put both boxes in the drawer this time. I shut it. I slid the key to the drawer out of its slot and put it in a cup and put the cup on a shelf. I went to the window. The street was still. The cat had left. The sky had the color of a bruise right before it heals and remembers how to be skin. I breathed in. I breathed out. I told myself it was over. At 3 a.m, a soft sound woke me. Not a song. A click. The drawer key turned in the cup by itself. It hopped once like a coin and fell on its side. The drawer slid open. The dark box opened its lid. The white box did too. Both keys pointed north. The room filled with a tune made of 2 parts, not a harmony, a braid, a mother's hum and a child's answer, back and forth, call and reply. It was not loud. It was the right size for the room. It took up the space air takes up. It learned where my breath fit and moved around it. I listened a long time. I waited for fear. It stood in the hall and did not come in. Something else came instead. Not joy, not peace. A thin thing, a clean thing, a tired thing that goes to bed at last. I do not know how long I sat there. I do know this. When the song finally stopped, the mirror in the dark box showed my face. Behind my face, in the glass, a small shape moved away down a long hall toward a door I could not see. A woman's hand touched the shape's shoulder. They walked together. They did not look back. I closed the lid. I closed the drawer. I picked up the fallen key and put it back. It did not jump. I turned off the lights and lay down. When I woke, the room was empty, normal, and wrong in the way rooms always feel the day after something ends. I made coffee. I tasted metal again and smiled and did not know why. At work, no one asked where I had been. They never do, not really. People let you return because it is easier than the truth. I went back to the house one more time with both boxes in a bag. The door still opened for me. The air still smelled like old water. I set the dark box on the sill where it belonged. I set the white and blue box beside it because leaving a child alone felt like the wrong kind of story. The light came into the room and touched both lids. A small wind passed through the window frame and bumped my hand and wanted me to say something, but I did not. I walked out and closed the door. I did not lock it. The house knows its own keys. I drove away. At the stop sign, I heard a soft sound from the back seat. I looked in the mirror. The bag sat still. The boxes did not push at the cloth. The sound was not a song. It was only a little click, like a spring settling the way a heart does after it remembers. In my apartment now, late at night, sometimes I hear a faint tune in the pipes, or the elevator cables, or the heat vents. It is small. It does not want to be a problem. When it comes, I stop what I am doing and listen. I say goodnight to a room I cannot see. If I stand very still, I can almost hear the words that were carved into the bottom of the first box. I can almost hear the mouth that could not speak them then, but can sing them now, for her to remember me. And sometimes, only sometimes, when I am too tired for fear and honest enough for the truth, I hear another line, a new one, in a small voice at the edge of sleep. For him to remember us.
Thank you for listening to The Storyteller's Moon. If this story touched you, scared you, or kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps the stories alive, and I can't wait to share the next one with you under the moonlight. Until then, may your nights be safe and your dreams unforgettable.